on digital radio, on the app, on your smartphone, on X, YouTube, and Facebook. The Sportscast. Expect the unexpected.
The Donut Bag presented by The Sportscast.
The Donut Bag, hosted by Joey Bag of Donuts. And here's your host, Joey Bag of Donuts.
Well, I made the title March of the Penguins because there was that movie years ago. I think Morgan Freeman narrated it or something like that. It was a documentary about penguins, and it was cute. Mm-hmm. And ever since then, every time it's a March and the Penguins are involved, people use that. So, but what an incredible month it was. I heard that the Penguins playing 17 games in 31 days was the most by any team ever. Do you know if that's true?
I heard that as well. I can't confirm that because I wouldn't even know where to start.
Right. How would you know?
Yeah.
You know, Bob Grove. That dude knows everything.
He would definitely know. But I mean, that is crazy. And we're in the middle of a 3-day lull right now, and it feels like a month because we're just so used to the Penguins playing every other night or even back-to-back nights. So this 3 days feels like 3 weeks.
Exactly. When I saw it, it's like, wait, there's not a game. With like days where there's not a game, it's like, this feels weird. Like you see him just play all the time, yet they are in a wonderful position. They came out of that very grueling month amazingly. What do you attribute such a great month and basically such a great year to? Well, why do you think they did so well in March?
Getting back to basics. I think Malkin and Crosby being out of the lineup at various times and sometimes together, it really made the team itself get back to basics, but it also made guys like Rust, Raquel, and Carlson say, you know what, while these guys are out, I'm taking this team on my back, and we're going to go to the playoffs. We're too good to miss the playoffs, and we're going to hold down the fort here until these guys get back. And
they really did. And they, we've seen it before in previous teams when Malkin and or Crosby were out, the team galvanizes for a short period of time, but this is kind of a different team. It's not, those teams relied solely on Crosby and Malkin and Letang.
Yes.
And this team, it's spread out all over the place. You're getting scoring. I think it's like one of the highest scoring teams in the NHL too.
They're second highest scoring team in the league. And the crazy part about that is they only have one 30-goal scorer on the team. And it's not Crosby. It's not Malkin. It's Anthony Mantha.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah, it's spread out all over the place. It is just amazing. Crosby, I keep hearing he seems off. But then lately he seems to be a little bit better. Is he still, you think it's because of injury or what, or is he really has he really been off?
I think that he's definitely still injured. He doesn't have that jump. Let's be very clear. An off night for Sidney Crosby is a night where he still gets 2 points.
Right.
I think that, he doesn't have that burst that he normally has. But, Sidney Crosby at 70% is still better than 90% of the players in the league. But, just to go back and touch on the point that you just talked about, I read a crazy stat the other day. This is obviously Sidney Crosby's 21st season. This is the highest goals per game that the Penguins have ever scored during the Sidney Crosby era. And, I mean, you think about the 4 Stanley Cup teams, the 3 that won and the 1 that didn't. you say, how is that possible that they're scoring more goals now than ever during his 21 years? And that is actually the case. They won a lot of those cups on defensive structure, and they are still playing a great defensively sound game, but they're getting goals from everybody. I mean, there's guys, Elmer Soderblom is coming in and scoring goals like almost every game, and Ricard Raquel, the player of the week, and Noah Chari is scoring goals. It seems like every other game. It's just they're getting contributions up and down the lineup. It's unbelievable to see.
It is crazy. Yeah, I mean, let's just call him glue guy. Elmer was basically just like a gift from the Red Wings. I don't really remember what they traded for him, but it wasn't much. It's like, oh well, he's big, so what? But he's becoming a defensive and sort of an offensive force too.
When they first got him, I thought, well, he'll probably be either a healthy scratch most nights or maybe even go to Wilkes-Barre. But for various reasons, like with injuries and everything, he initially was forced to be in the lineup. But now when Blake Lizotte comes back, I don't know who you keep in the lineup, who you take out.
It's a tough question. Yeah.
Man, I mean, do you take out Tommy Novak? Keep Soderblom in? I don't know. I'm glad I'm not Dan Muse. That's a tough decision. But it's I guess, if you're in that position, that's a good problem when you have too many good players. But the contributions up and down the lineup, it's just, talk about rolling four lines and not worrying about putting your fourth line out there. It's just from top to bottom. This team is solid.
I've never heard of that almost throughout this whole Sidney Crosby era of, I mean, you that's the dream of, let's roll four lines, but really that was almost never the case. It was Crosby and Malkin's line getting almost all the time, and then third and fourth line just a little bit. I mean, there was exceptions along the way, HBK and stuff like that.
HBK,
but really the fourth line was an afterthought. The fourth line was basically for penalty kills, and here, it's like they're all getting almost equal time, and it's just amazing. And they did miss Blake Lizotte a lot, especially on the penalty kill. But lately, it doesn't matter how bad you are on the penalty kill when you're scoring 6, 7, 8 goals a game.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, they definitely missed Blake Lizotte on penalty kill. I think they've given up a power play goal in like 10 of the 12 games that he's missed, or something like that.
Like worse in the league or something like that.
Yeah, it's been really bad. So they'll definitely welcome him back, and it looks like he's getting pretty close to coming back. But yeah, like you said, even though they're giving up these power play goals, they score 3. They went 3 for 3 on the power play the other night, and 5-on-5, they're at the top or near the top of the league in 5-on-5 goals too. So they're just, even though they're playing defensively sound, they're outscoring their opponents at a crazy rate.
It's crazy. It's crazy. One change that has been made is Ricard Raquel is now a center, and I think he started out when he started being a center, he wasn't very good at it, but it seems like he's getting used to it.
Yeah, when he first started playing center earlier this season, it didn't go well. He was getting crushed on faceoffs, and actually when Crosby went out, the whole team's faceoff winning percentage went way down. But it was very noticeable with Raquel. So when they put him back at center, I was like thinking to myself, I don't think this is going to work out. He can't win a faceoff. Well, it's worked out ever since. I don't know if he, talked to Jeff Carter in the meantime, or, maybe Matt Collin or whoever, but he's figured out how to win faceoffs. And man, I mean, everything he touched last week went in the net. It was crazy. I mean, number one star of the week in the NHL. And every time I think, like, don't tinker with the lines, Dan Muse, just leave them the way they were. He took Chinakhov, put him up with Crosby, and I was like thinking to myself, he played so well with Malkin. Don't mess with that. But it's been every move he makes seems to work. So who am I to question any of that?
It's funny. the question is, should Dan Muse win Coach of the Year, and or should Kyle Dubas win GM of the Year, or both? Maybe maybe neither will win anything, but still, it's a good argument. Like, who's done a better job? And I don't know, because the way Muse has them playing as a unit is just amazing. It's really cool to see.
Yeah, there's something special about this team. And listen, I'm not saying they're going to win the Stanley Cup or anything like that, but the camaraderie amongst this team, and just like the kind of jovial nature in the locker room, and it's, there's a distinct difference with different teams. Being in the locker room for the better part of the last 20 years, like there's definitely, you could tell when you're in there. And I don't know, there's just something really special going on with this team. And hey, they could go out and lose in the first round of the playoffs.
Right.
I don't know. There's just something about this team. And, Dan Muse will not win Coach of the Year, even though I think he should definitely get some votes for it. Kyle Dubas should win GM of the Year. I mean, the Chinakhov deal alone should get him that, not to mention the fact that he was able to trade Tristan Jarry for Brent Kulak, a second-round pick, and Stuart Skinner. And then he turns around and trades Brent Kulak for Sam Girard, still has the second-round pick, and still has Stuart Skinner. I mean, and no retained salary. Like, that's like magician-type stuff.
I still have no idea why Edmonton made that deal. Listen, I don't expect the Edmonton GM to know the dynamics of every single team, but I would think that they would have a scout in the East or something like that would just, like, you ask any Penguin fan, what do you think of Tristan Jarry? It's like, please get rid of him. It was almost like the options were, do that crazy buyout thing where you keep him on the payroll for the next 10 years, or like pay another team. This is like, here, take him and we'll retain some salary and we'll have to throw in a draft pick. Just please take him. And here they get a good goalie, a good defenseman, and a second round draft pick for him. That was just a heist.
Especially considering he was on waivers last season. Any team in the league could have picked him up for nothing. And I mean, he was able to get a NHL defenseman, an NHL goalie, and a second round pick for a guy that was put on waivers last year. And I, for the life of me, cannot understand why Edmonton made that move, or how Kyle Dubas got them to agree to that move. And the only thing I can think of from the Oilers' perspective is Jarry had success when he played for the Oil Kings in Edmonton in juniors.
Okay.
And maybe they thought, well, a change of scenery, a familiar place. I don't know. But I mean, in my mind, there's no GM that has done a better job this season than Kyle Dubas. He probably won't win it because there's a lot of voters in the Toronto area. And
there's some bitterness there. They just fired their GM.
There. Yeah, they fired their GM, and here's Kyle Dubas making the playoffs here in Pittsburgh, and he probably won't win it, and Dan Muse probably won't win Coach of the Year, but they should definitely both garner some serious votes.
Well, at least Jarry has really worked out in Edmonton. Oops, no, he hasn't.
Yeah.
What is he doing? Like getting into fights every day or something like that?
I think he did win his last 2 games, but he was benched, and Connor Ingram was starting most of the games, and I think at one point, I think his stats are a little better now, but I think he was the 32nd worst goalie since the time of the trade. So I don't know.
For Columbus to trade Chinakhov for basically nothing, I don't understand how you make a deal with a team in your own division.
Yeah, in your own division that you're battling for playoff position.
Yeah.
Now, back at that time, Columbus was pretty far down in the standings, but still. And then the whole reason that they traded him is because him and the coach didn't get along, and then they fired the coach 5 days later.
Coach like a few days later.
Yeah, that made no sense to me either. I mean, obviously he's outplayed his expectations as well. But I mean, he's part of the long-term plans of the future here in Pittsburgh now. I mean, the guy just, anybody with that type of shot, to just give up on a player like that with that type of shot. I mean, it's unbelievable when you watch him shoot. And I mean, he's almost scoring a goal a game or goal every other game since he's gotten here. And I mean, he shows no signs of slowing down. And I mean, the moves that he made, and who would have thought Anthony Mantha would have a career season, 31 goals. Brazeau's been great. Wotherspoon, Shea, like all these guys that he brought in. I mean, he didn't miss on any of them. It's unbelievable.
And then the previous heist from a couple years ago, Erik Karlsson,
Yes,
is playing like MVP level. It's incredible. It's just everything is clicking. I think you're right. I think this is a special team. There were no games like under Mike Sullivan. There were so many games where the team just didn't have it. Yeah. They were slow, lethargic. That it was just like you could tell it wasn't their night. That was hardly ever the case this year. Even when they were losing, like they were down 2-3 goals, there was still a good chance they were going to at least tie the game or make it real close. It was incredible.
How many times this year have they come back from 2, even 3 goals down? Now they did have a problem earlier this year where they were giving up 2 and 3 goals.
Yeah,
leads.
that was weird.
But they corrected that. And to your point, I can only think of maybe 2 or 3 games this season where they really just didn't have it that night. And Dan Muse, to his credit, in each one of those post games, he's like, "Hey, this is on us. This is not acceptable. And this is not only on the players, this is on the coaching staff as well. We need to do a better job of getting the team prepared." And I'm like, that's what you want to hear from your coach when you have a game like that. And they never had back-to-back, just like not showing up games. There was a stretch where they lost, I think 6 in a row, but it was never lack of effort. There might be like one game where it's like they just didn't have it tonight, but for the most part, 95% of the games they played this year, the effort has been there.
Yeah. And even in with previous teams, I mean, it was very clear. Mike Sullivan said, if somebody sends you a cheap shot or whatever, don't retaliate. I think this team is like, no, we got each other's backs. So it's like, I don't care who, we're going to fight. So that's also nice to see.
Yeah, we've seen that a lot with, Connor Clifton has dropped his gloves, and, guys you wouldn't even expect sometimes are out there dropping their gloves. Noah Chari. Now, Chari has fought before, but he doesn't fight very often, but he could throw them. And, Soderblom, he really only, I think I looked it up on hockeyfights.com. He only had like one career fight going into this, when he came over from the Penguins, and he's out there fighting. And even if he's not a fighter, I'm not fighting that guy, man. How do you even reach him?
Right. There was that game, that pivotal game against the Islanders in New York, at the Islanders, when I think the Islanders were winning like 2-0 or 3-1 or something like that, and all of a sudden they rattle off like 7-8 goals or whatever, and this guy tries to pick a fight with Soderblom. Yeah. How do you even reach him? Like, come on, like it was crazy.
Yeah, it looked like he was just hanging on for dear life.
Right. Yeah, Soderblom's like playing with him like a cat plays with a mouse.
Yeah.
For the goaltenders, almost the entire season, it's been a 50-50 rotation. And it's been Sheloffs and Skinner. But then Skinner got hurt. I guess it was a freak thing with the puck in the eye or something like that. So who knows how bad that is. But assuming Skinner is going to be healthy, they're not going to do a rotation in the playoffs, right?
I don't think so. I think that the leash will be short if Skinner goes out there in game 1 of whatever the series is, and they lose 5-0 and 4 of the goals were softies. I don't think that Dan Muse will hesitate to go to Shelovs, but I think just based off of playoff experience alone, and I mean the guy's been in the Stanley Cup final the last 2 years. I think you have to go with Skinner. Yeah. But like I said, I if I were Dan Muse and again, I'm glad I'm not. I wouldn't be afraid to have the short leash, and go in with Shelovs, but I think you have to go with Skinner.
And then there's Sergei Murashov. I mean, there's history on his side. There's been times when I'm just thinking of Matt Murray. Matt Murray basically had almost zero NHL experience, goes into the playoffs, wins a couple cups.
Yep.
I mean, Murashov has had that. I know they want to bring him along slow, but he's had almost an entire year in AHL. I mean, if Skinner or Shelovs don't do well, I think you might go with Plan C.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see if, one of them were to get hurt. Obviously, we don't want to see anybody get hurt, but if one of those two were to get hurt, how short of a leash would it be before they went to Murashov? I think ultimately what Dubas and the Penguins front office staff is hoping is that Murashov backstops Wilkes-Barre to a Calder Cup, and because they have a pretty good team down there, obviously, this season. And, I think that they're hoping that he could just be the man down there for these playoffs, for the AHL. And then he'll be up here next year. Still not sure how that's going to look, because Shelovs is a restricted free agent, I believe. And, the team, and everybody around the organization seems to love Skinner. And, I don't know what that would look like with, because Shelovs is only 25 or 24, I believe. And usually you don't see a tandem of two guys that are under 25. You usually have the veteran guy and the younger guy. And I think Skinner just, being around the locker room and, on a few rare occasions getting to ask him some questions, he just seems like the very mentoring type, and he just seems like the ultimate teammate. And, I think that he would be such an asset to have as, kind of a mentor here, but at the same time, he's not that old either. And I think that he still wants to be a starting goaltender in this league. And I think the Penguins want Murashov to be the starting netminder of the future. So we'll see how that plays out. But again, it's another good problem to have, having too much goaltending.
Right.
Who would have thought we would have been saying that earlier this season?
Exactly. Malkin had an interesting March. Earlier in the month, he had that ridiculous basically went nuts and got that 5-game suspension at the worst possible time when Crosby was already out, and then he was out. That was just a really dumb thing to do. He has been up and down for the month. It was very cool. He got the hat trick last game in front of the home crowd. Could that have been like a farewell, or do you think there's a chance he comes back next year?
I do think he's going to come back next season. I think that they're going to figure it out in the summer. I think that they like him kind of as a mentor for Chinakhov, even if they're not playing together. I think that they like that. And I mean, honestly, he's averaging a point a game. You're probably going to get him at a discounted rate. Where else are you going to get a forward that averages a point a game at whatever the discounted rate is they're going to get him at? I think right now he makes $6.1 million a year. So I don't know, maybe that same contract, but it has to be on a year-to-year basis. It can't be more than a year. And, based off of everything he's saying, he definitely wants to play one more season, maybe even two. And he, seems to just genuinely be enjoying himself, enjoying this run that they're on, enjoying, watching Sid reach milestones, himself reaching milestones. And, I think he's played well enough to earn that one more year. And honestly, I love him playing on the wing. He could still do the freestyle stuff that he likes to do, but it's not as costly when he does, makes a dumb drop pass or a bad pass or something playing on the wing as compared to playing center.
First of all, got to credit Muse for even even bringing that up that he would play
Yes.
wing, but credit Malkin for agreeing to do it. He could have easily said, "How dare you? Don't you know who I am?
Yeah.
I'm a legend here. Of course I'm a center." No, he said, "Fine, I'll be wing," and he's really good at it. And yeah, if you could get him for a little less, and it's not a long-term thing. Hey, if you're getting 20 goals and 40 assists out of a winger, you'll take that. That's
Yeah.
hey, why not?
I mean, and I know him and Chinakhov aren't playing together right now, but boy, did they have some chemistry. And like I said, why go out and sign a free agent that you're taking a chance on when you know what you're getting with Malkin? Right. And at some point he could break down and he could show, he's almost 40. Father time catches up with everybody, but he looks really good this season. Yeah, he's had a couple of injuries, but hey, when you're 39, almost 40, and you're still averaging a point a game, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah. As of right now, the Flyers are beating the Devils, and there's only four or five games left. It kind of looks like the Penguins are going to clinch very soon, where they have like a 99.99% chance of clinching the playoffs, and it looks like it might be the Flyers. Is that? I mean, if you could pick between the Flyers, the Islanders, or Columbus, who would you want the Penguins to play in the first round?
I would say the Flyers. I think that there's so much bad history with the Islanders, and even though the Penguins thumped them last week, I think in a 7-game series, that's a bad matchup for the Penguins. They're, I know they put up 7 goals on Sorokin, but Sorokin's one of the best goalies in the league. And if he figures out his game, he could definitely steal a series for the Islanders. The Flyers obviously have been one of the hottest teams in the league of late, but I think that's a really good matchup for the Penguins because I don't know, the Flyers don't do anything spectacular. They don't have spectacular goaltending. They just seem to have gotten hot at the right time. And listen, I'm not saying that they can't go out and lose the series to the Flyers. They've been a really hot team and they do have good players. But I think that, the games that the Penguins played against the Flyers this year, they were competitive. I don't know exactly what the season series was with them, but every game was competitive for what I remember. And I don't know. I just think that that's the best matchup for them. Columbus, I think that would be an okay matchup too, because again, I think Columbus was playing over their heads when they changed coaches and they won something like 13 out of 14 or something crazy like that. And it's like, okay, they're not this good. So I think that would be a decent matchup for the Penguins too. But I would say avoid the Islanders at all costs. I mean, obviously things are going to play out the way they're going to play out. But, if I had my choice of the 3 teams, I would pick the Flyers.
I'm just trying to look. I'm sure it's happened, but has the Penguins ever beat the Islanders in the playoffs? I'm not sure. I'm sure it had to happen.
Yeah, I think they did in I want to say like 2012, maybe 2013 when they got to the conference final. But there's been a lot of unpleasant memories of the Penguins and Islanders. The last time they played was the Tristan Jarry giving away the puck to the Islanders in the overtime game. Who could forget that? So
that was a pretty good team, and basically Jarry single-handedly lost that series for them. That's very impressive. Yes. That everything was going right except for him. Like he was exceptionally bad.
Yeah, like you normally would never pinpoint a player or blame a player for a series loss, but that's how bad
it was
in that series. I mean, it was like if it wasn't for him, they would have won the series.
Yeah. And then, of course, I don't remember the 70s. I know there were some really bad ones in the 70s. I think the Penguins
they blew a 3-0 series lead to them. That was, I think, only the second time in NHL history that ever happened.
Yeah.
There was.
And I'll still never understand 93. Like that Penguins team was like one of the greatest of all time, and I'll still never understand how that even got to 7 games, let alone losing it. I understand this. I understand Game 7. I mean,
Yeah.
was it Kevin Stevens almost died? That's
Yes.
that's a little significant, but crazy.
We could have a whole podcast just on 1993 team, but
oh my goodness.
yeah, a lot of bad memories of Penguins Islanders playoff matchup. So, if I had a choice, I would just avoid that.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the Flyers, there's just lots of fun there. It's always, and Crosby, I don't care if he has his leg amputated. He will still go all out against the Flyers. It is just so much fun. 2 decades now of just absolute hatred of the Flyers and Crosby.
And they still chant Crosby sucks. I think he would never admit to it, but I think that he loves, playing in Philly, and not that he's not 100% up for every game, but he's at 110% for the games there.
They put his face on in the urinals of all the urinals in Philadelphia. When I would go vacation on the Jersey Shore, and it's near Philadelphia and New York and stuff, so it's like, okay, you have your Yankee stuff, your Flyer stuff, your Philly stuff, and I hate Sidney Crosby gear. Yeah, he's living rent free in all their heads. It is
for 2 decades.
2 decades. Yeah, you just love to see that's the perfect way to get back into the playoffs. But the funny thing is, we don't know how they're going to be in the playoffs.
No.
It's been 3 years since they've even made the playoffs, and the playoffs are it's almost like a completely different sport. How do you think this team will do in playoff hockey?
Yeah, that's the other reason that I would like to see them play either Columbus or Philly, because there aren't a lot of guys on either one of those teams that have a lot of playoff experience, kind of like the Penguins, other than, Crosby, Malkin, Russ, the core guys that were on the Cup teams. So it would kind of be like playing a same type of team, because there's a lot of guys on the Flyers and a lot of guys on the Blue Jackets that have never experienced playoff hockey. And, it kind of reminds me of, when that young Penguins team in 2006 went up to Ottawa and got obliterated by the Senators, because there was nobody on the team that had any playoff experience other than like Gary Roberts. And I think Mark Recchi was still on the team at the time. That was it. And they learned from that experience. And then they all of a sudden went to the Stanley Cup final the next season. And I think, there's a lot of guys on that Islanders team that have been with the Islanders for a long time, a lot of guys that have playoff experience. But again, when you look at with the Flyers and the Blue Jackets, not a whole lot of playoff experience there. And I think, to answer your question that you asked me, I think that they could win a playoff series for sure. And let's be honest, anything beyond that is just a bonus, because, when we talked at the beginning of the season, it's like, if they make
lottery
the playoffs, playoffs is a pipe dream, probably a lottery pick. So, getting guys like Ben Kindle and Chinakhov and, some of these other young guys playoff experience, that is something that you can't teach. You just have to experience it. And, to see Crosby, Malkin, Letang, and even, Erik Karlsson back in the playoffs, I think they're going to be motivated, super motivated as well, because, hey, they're a lot closer to the end than the beginning, and they're going to be motivated to win, obviously.
Obviously, jumping ahead, but let's assume they do win that playoff series, and then they'll probably go on to Carolina, and I think that would be there. From what I hear, they would really want a shot at Carolina. I don't know if you want that. Carolina not only looks really good, but they also look really good when they play the Penguins. So
yeah,
I don't think you really want that.
Yeah, especially down there. Yeah, I mean the way that the playoffs are structured, that's more than likely who they would get in the second round unless Carolina got upset in the first round. But they've played them tough, except for the game where Carolina came up here, and I think they lost 4-0 or 5-1 or something like that. But that was the second half of a back-to-back for the Penguins, where they had to travel back to Pittsburgh, and Carolina was waiting here. But the other games with them were all competitive. That memorable game where I think they were down 3, scored a combined 7 goals in the third period between the two teams.
Yeah.
They were entertaining games, and who knows what could happen in the playoffs, because even Carolina is so good every season, but then they never get past the second round, or occasionally they'll make it to the conference final, but they just can't get over that hump. So who knows what could happen, because Carolina plays that style, that kind of wear you down, grind you down style. But if you could somehow get a lead on them of more than 1 goal, it throws their whole system completely off. So we'll see what happens in the playoffs, but it'll be interesting. And I do think that they could definitely win a round, and then beyond that, who knows what could happen. And even Stuart Skinner, even though he made it to the final the last 2 years, he's got something to prove too. He needs to go out there, or I would think that he wants to go out there and say, like, I didn't get the Stanley Cup final because of those teams that, the Connor McDavid didn't get us there. I was part of the reason that we got there. And I think he wants to go out and show, like, hey, I backstopped those 2 teams to the Stanley Cup final.
He doesn't get the blame for the losses, but then again, they weren't exactly sad to see him go. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he does have something to prove. Here's a crazy stat. They have not won any 2-1 game this season, and they've only won 1 3-2 game. You know what? That's like every score in every playoff game. That's a little scary.
That is the concerning thing, because they have been giving up a lot of goals lately. 3-4 goals a game. It just so happens that they're outscoring everybody by a lot, but that's not the way that the playoffs work, as we all know. And I did hear that stat the other day. No 1-0 games, no 2-1 games, only 1 3-2 game. And they're definitely going to have to tighten things up in the playoffs. Now, if they're going to play the Flyers, all bets are off. I think we remember that one crazy series. I think the final score of the one game was 10-8, and the other game was 8-6, or something wild like that.
Are you talking about the 80s one, or the one like...
No, in like 2013 or 12.
Oh, that's the one when Crosby went nuts.
Yes.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, Aaron Asham was fighting people, and Fleury got pulled, and it was
when they finally get under Crosby's skin, the most level-headed guy in the world, they did something good.
Yes, yeah. So, all bets are off when the Penguins and Flyers get together in the playoffs. But to your point, that's the way the playoffs are played. You very rarely see like a blowout in a playoff game, or a 7-5 type of playoff game, but. Seems like the rules don't apply when the Penguins and Flyers play. But they're definitely going to need to get that goals per game allowed down to a more reasonable number, because right now I think they're giving up somewhere between 3 and 4 goals a game, and that's way too much for their playoffs.
Thinking of that 93 team, I think it's like, well, how could they have possibly lost? And the reason is, they kept all their stars. I mean, that was basically like year 3 of this mini dynasty. They kept all their stars, but they started losing the like the third and fourth liners, like Phil Bork, Bob Airy, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And one reason, yes, it hurt to lose Sidney Crosby and Malkin, but it really hurt to lose Blake Lizotte. Yes. You need those guys. You need those defensive guys. You need those third and fourth liners just as much as you need the top guys.
Yeah, and that's what I wonder. I mean, I know you didn't ask me this, but I'm just thinking out loud. That's what I wonder about Edmonton too. They lost a lot of their third and fourth line guys from the team last year, and it makes me wonder how far deep they're even going to get into the lineup.
Didn't they lose Draisaitl also?
He's hurt he might be back for the playoffs, but he's hurt probably until the last game of the season, maybe. But that's to go back. That's the thing that I think makes this team special. The Penguins have those role players, those kind of glue guys, and that's what's been missing the past couple of seasons. You didn't know where the second line ended and the fourth line began because it was just like a hodgepodge. I don't want to use the word hodgepodge of nothingness. That applies to another team in town, but it was just like a kind of mash unit of players on the third and fourth lines. But this year, it's like, okay, we have defined third and fourth line players that all play an integral role on this team. And that has not been the case the past 2 seasons. And that's why I think that there's something special with this team. Yeah.
It's just, I miss playoff hockey so much. It's just so much fun. It's so intense. It's just a whole nother level. Players like Max Talbot and Nick Bonino are, we know what they did, and they're just as much of legends as Crosby and Lemieux. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's a tiring, by the end of the playoffs, you feel like you've played in them, whether you're a fan, a writer, whoever, it's like every other day. It's just, it's intense. No matter, like I said, you're, covering the games or watching the games. It's so fun though, to be a part of.
I can't imagine what the players go through because like you said, what we go through is a lot, an intense thing every other day for like 2 months. If they go all the way, it's just it is. It's exhausting because you're up till like 11 PM every night. And then you got to do it again 2 days later. So yeah, I can't imagine. And then after every when they're done with the season, there's always like, oh yeah, that guy was playing with a broken jaw and a broken leg and a broken leg.
We're
just playing with that.
I'll be interested to hear at the end of the season, whenever that comes, what truly like Malkin is playing with and Crosby is playing with, and I'm sure Letang is playing with, because Malkin has settled into the wing, but I wonder if still part of it is that he can't take a face off.
Right. I think his shoulder's messed up or something like that. Yeah.
So that'll be interesting at season's end to see what all those injuries that everybody's playing with are.
Yeah. Where can people find you, follow you, and get more of your work?
All right. You can find me on Twitter, X, at PGHVC, and also on PittsburghHockeyNow.com. I usually am writing the game summaries over there, and about once a week I write a kind of feature article, if you want to call it that. So I have one coming out tomorrow about the emergency backup goalie and how that is actually going away at the end of the season. They're no longer going to be amateur players that are just kind of dressing in Pittsburgh. The emergency backup goalie is now going to be a full-time employee of the team that will travel with the team.
What are they going to do?
They're basically going to be like the practice goalie full-time for they'll travel with the team. Like they'll kind of be the goalie for the morning skates for the injured players and things like that. Because right now there's three guys that are filling that emergency backup goalie role here in Pittsburgh. And one of them is my cousin. So I know he was a goalie at UConn, and he, kind of just goes and sits in the stands for, I think he gets about 10 of the games or 15 of the games. And then the other two guys get 10 or 15 games. Now they could be the backup goalie for either team, depending on, which goalies get hurt and whatnot. But this is the last season of that. So we won't get any more of these, stories about the Zamboni driver suiting up for the Maple Leafs and, or the sales rep for the Dallas Stars playing goal for the Anaheim Ducks, or.
So there's some Twitter account that gives a countdown every single day. It's like so many days since Toronto last won a Stanley Cup, which I believe it's been over 50 years, almost 50 years now. And also so many days since they lost to a backup goal. I think now the weird thing is, it's by city. So let's say the Penguins are playing, I don't know, some Montreal or something like that.
Mhm.
The guy in the stands, he's like, you got to suit up for Montreal, not Pittsburgh. You might be
Right.
Pittsburgh's, you might be in Pittsburgh, you might be a Penguins fan, but you got to suit up for the other team to play against the team that you like. It's crazy.
Yeah, obviously I'm going to plug the article for Pittsburgh Hockey Now that's coming out tomorrow, which will be Wednesday. My cousin actually did have to suit up one time. He didn't go to the bench, but he stood in the runway for the San Jose Sharks,
Wow.
and he had a Sharks jersey on, and he ended up not having to get into the game, and he was nervous because it went into overtime and a shootout, and the Sharks equipment manager was actually nice enough to mail him a jersey with his name stitched on it and everything a couple of weeks later. So
That's
that was pretty
nice.
cool.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but,
That's cool.
But yeah, after the season is over, that's going to go away, and each team is going to have a designated emergency goalie that will actually travel with them. So that it'll be a little bit different starting next season.
Didn't I also see something about in an emergency, a player can be a ref or something like that?
Yeah, that came up recently. I forget who posted that on Twitter. It was one of the more well-known writers, and it was like there is something in the rule book about if none of the refs show up, then each team can designate a player to be the referee, and that must be somewhere deep in the rule book because I had never heard of that before.
Yeah, me neither.
You I'll have to go on Twitter or Google that. But I did see that recently, and I was like, I can't believe that's even a rule anymore, because they do have like backup officials now and off ice officials that could go in an emergency, and also linesmen can serve as referees. So I'm surprised they even have a rule like that in the books anymore.
Yeah, that is very weird. I've never heard of that happening. All right. Hey, thanks so much for coming on.
Oh, anytime.
All right, I'll see you.
Thank you.